Ready? Act 1, Scene 1, the name change. Setting, the location is Harlem, New York in 2009. There's a small rise of steps leading upwards from the bank of wall-mounted mailboxes. There's a door on the right side of the landing above the step. The other side of the door is a sofa, a desk with a computer on it, and a rolling chair. At rise, sitting next to the mailbox is a middle-aged woman with a pompadour haircut and compression-bound chest. She's holding a large manila envelope that is addressed to her from her family's attorney in Brooklyn. Tearing into the envelope, she starts to scream and races up the stairs, calling for her partner, Magara.
They're here. My name change papers are here. I can finally start my life and really live.
You got them?
The waiting is over. I did get them. I get a second chance at life. I get a do-over, a real do-over. No more being ashamed or not wanting to go outside. I will finally be able to love me. And I can finally get comfortable in my own skin.
She sits down at the desk and opens the envelope. Inside the envelope are the court documents that were filed 3 weeks ago and a small newspaper clipping showing that the name change was publicly posted. She looks from the paperwork, then to Magara, then back to the paperwork.
It is official. We are now a straight couple. I can be all I need to be. How many people do you know in life that get a chance to do their whole life over? I have a clean slate, and I intend to make the best of it. Hi, my name is Ercole Cuoco, and I'm happy to meet you.
Sitting on the sofa and staring at Ercole, action stops, lights dim, and a spotlight shines on Magara. She stands off to one side. She's clearly confused and exasperated.
I know that the signs were all there. Really, I did. I just chose to be blind to him. I thought it was all talk. Guess it wasn't. What the fuck was he thinking? Really, what the fuck was I thinking? Was I that oblivious to what he was doing? I know that he mentioned the name change project, but I guess it was too wrapped up with those moron professors to really pay attention. I can go through this with him. He was there when they diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis in 07. Should I left then? So help me goddess, I won't either.
Magara sits back on the sofa. Lights rise, action resumes. Sticking her hand out to shake.
Hi, Ercole. Pleased to meet you.
Fade to black. Scene 2, at the bar. Setting at a small neighborhood karaoke bar, Ercole, Magara, Gina, Melanie, Teresa, and Randolfo are sitting at a table with drinks and food. Music is quietly playing in the background. At rise, everyone is eating and drinking. Randolfo wipes his mouth with a napkin as a waiter busses the table.
Hey, have you heard there's been another school shooting in Florida?
Not again.
Oh shit. Really?
Damn.
You know, it's shit like this that makes me want to avoid teaching, because we can't keep our kids safe from asshats like these who think that it's okay to settle scores with a gun.
Politicians want to say that it's mental illness.
Like hell it is. It's a lack of connection with our communities, and everyone is pointing fingers at everyone else.
And the politicians say we teachers are doing nothing. Meanwhile, the politicians say there's nothing they can do to stop it from happening.
Then you add 45 into the mix, and he says, let's arm the school teachers with handguns. The only thing that stops a bad man with a gun is a good man with a gun. That's the biggest load of horse shit on the planet.
I've been trained in active shooter drills at school. Doesn't anyone realize the kind of trauma that puts kids through? I get the stranger danger, but this is way too much for my high school kids. Too damn much.
I can't get the district to pay for my classroom supplies. I can't get them to buy anything I need. So I want to know who's paying for the Glock.
That's not a conversation we dare have at the college. Our campus is sprawled across dozens of city blocks, and if we lock down one area, the buildings that could be blocks away are locked down too. Not every student has a cell phone, and texting isn't always a way of letting people know in time. That's especially true when the students are between classes outside buildings.
If you're outside a building with a lockdown happens and you get that inevitable text, where do you go? Does security lock the doors?
As far as I know, it's nobody in, nobody out.
That's about how it works, but there's more. Megara, Melanie, and I come from a small town just like you three come from the city. We grew up in a gun culture because of our backgrounds, and it's probably safe to assume that people like us are just as dignified about our lack of common sense gun laws. It's not like we want to ban guns, we just want some common sense.
Well, it's not like we teach men how to deal with their emotions in a healthy way.
Toxic masculinity.
Surround sound. And then we stand there and wonder why young men, better yet, white men, are going around shooting people up. We need to stop telling men, and that means young men as well, that there are only two feelings they are allowed to have: anger, age, and happiness. Better yet, you are allowed to feel like you are the top dog, the big dog. Any signs of tenderness or feeling hurt, especially crying, forget it. You are persona non grata, and you need to turn your manhood in your manhood card, because you aren't one of us.
There's the rub. What society dictates, and that's the disconnect.
I mean, I have to worry about how I'm perceived because the whole "you're a wimp, not a real man" is prevalent. I want to feel my emotions without consequences.
Gina leaning into Hercule to whisper.
You are so much better as a man than you ever were as a woman.
Thank you. I think that when we disconnect from society, we forget who we really are, and it makes it easier to hurt others unintentionally. I've learned a lot from my journey.
Hey Megara, what have you learned from his journey? Let me be honest. I love my Gina's tits, but what has it been like for you? I don't know that I could survive what you have. I love my Gina just the way she is. I know when someone transitions, everyone transitions with them. I can't imagine this has been easy for you. Being a lesbian and now a heterosexual woman, I'm sure you've got your own story.
Really? You had to go there?
It has been hard at times. He doesn't notice. When we first started this journey, there was a time where I felt that I had gotten divorced.
Divorce? What happened?
Especially now that he passes, there are at times people like waiters, store clerks, whoever we walk in together, and they will almost always defer to him and nearly ignore me. It was interesting being viewed as a lesbian couple. Here in the city hasn't been such a big deal. Come on, Park Slope, The Village, Stonewall, Carroll Gardens. It all started here, but outside the city, it is a huge deal. When I was younger, I had an experience with a girl my own age.
Cue Melissa Etheridge's The Wanting of You.
She was married in high school. Oldest was well upon his way, but that wild night Seattle, it left a mark she can't erase. A phase she'll just get over. That's what her friends have always said. You dip your toes in water. She's way over her head. She looks up to the heaven and wonders why love is so cruel. She loves him, won't hurt him, can't stop waiting for you.
The funniest thing about his transition is my mother of all people.
Don't tell me your mom had a meltdown.
Yes. No. Maybe. Probably. We all know that I'm a recovering Mormon, right? Okay, good. That being said, my mother is a raging Mormon. Tiffin, to the point where she didn't have enough money for gas to get to work, scrambling to pay bills in some misguided belief that it was all in some nebulous God's hand that all would work out.
That had to have been tough.
Oh, yup. That was my life. My mother couldn't stand that I came out of the closet. Threatened me and my non-existent children at the time that if I ever was in a same-sex relationship, that she would rip my kids from me to protect them from Satan's influence. You know, the kind of scary stuff.
So wrong.
I ran screaming back into the closet and got stuck in an abusive relationship just to please her. I finally had enough and decided my life was my own life.
Good for you.
When I met Ercole before transition, she had a major problem with it. It was all about the optics and how she failed as a parent. When he started the transition, it was suddenly a potential son-in-law instead of her daughter living in sin. My mother was delighted. She dove right in planning my big wedding. Not that I would let her near the state where the chapel was, much less let her know when it was going to happen. And so, you don't know, she never did get an invite.
Ouch. I bet that hurt. She's speaking to you?
I choose not to speak to her, but she keeps trying to contact me. For some reason, she thinks that if she can butter up Ercole, she can get back into my good graces. Not likely to happen anytime soon.
We all have that one family member that doesn't seem to understand that each of us is our own person in our own right. As adults, we get to choose who we call family regardless of how we feel.
Ercole is just my brother from another mother. Probably a lot to do generationally. I remember my mother, and I lived in the projects, but my mother was strict. There was no way that she was going to let me become a part of the projects or have a projects mentality.
I wouldn't have known that you grew up in public housing. You don't have
The attitude, the you owe me because I grew up poor expectation. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot, and I do mean a lot of decent people who live in the projects. And for whatever reason, just don't leave. There's a sense of community and family there, but as a young black man, my chances were slim. I had my mom and my aunties who expected a lot from me and demanded the best. They didn't want me to become the stereotype or a statistic.
Baby, I couldn't ask for a better man. Your mom did right by you, and you have some very strong role models that we are lacking today. And that all goes right back to the lack of connection with our communities.
That's right. I couldn't do what I do today in acting if it wasn't for how my mother raised me. I'm grateful every day she taught me to speak English clearly without all the ebonics. I grew up in church. My mom started in a law office and ended up working for the New York State Family Court as a clerk. However, while I can speak the King's English, I can and am grateful for my street cred by being able to speak ebonics. Because now I have the choice. My poor misguided brother from another mother, unfortunately, isn't able to. Sorry, Ercole. You're too much of a white boy for the hood.
Okay, let's be realistic. An old G like you and a mafioso like me, well, let's see captain's quarters, anyone? Fine steaks, cigars, and scotch. Seriously, back in the day, you and I could never be friends. If you were in my neighborhood back in the day, and you were alone at night, Rand, you know what would have happened.
Unfortunately, you're right. You couldn't come to projects because in your neighborhood, I would have been beaten with an inch of my life simply because of the color of my skin. And if you lifted a finger to help, they'd beat you as well and ask you, what the hell is wrong with you? You're a Mulinian lover now? You turn against your own? The same exact way I would have gotten. Why are you helping Whitey? Now? Oh yeah, a couple old softies. Real dangerous. And today isn't going to happen. He's definitely my ride or die guy.
Seriously though, I look at Trump supporters and I get them, but not in the good way. There's no way that I could vote for him or his policies or any of his half-baked crackpot ideas. The man is dangerous.
I think that's established.
I put on a uniform and was willing to die for my country. What has he done?
a whole lot of braggadocio and hot air. Nothing substantive.
That's right. He managed to buy his way out of the draft using the fact that he had bone spurs in his heels. If he had a few zeros in his bank account, he'd never had and he never had that privilege. He got out of serving, but the poor white guy down the block had to go. He used his privilege to get out of serving, and not everyone had that option.
That's right. But also, that's also where the rub is. As a man of color, the stereotype says that I'm supposed to hate my white male counterpart because of my lot in life is his fault. While some of the stuff is the result of choices I made, systematic racism, unequal distribution of necessary resources, Jim Crow era laws were renamed and recycled, and the current tension stirred up by the white president. The system is against me, succeeding where my white counterpart wouldn't find any issues. When you're poor, and I use the term loosely, sometimes the only way out is criminal or military, because the stereotype says that a man of color shouldn't value an education. Do you know how tough it was to hear that growing up?
I can bet it was tough. We've lost a whole generation of brilliant young men because of it.
Hey, what I'm trying to say is that some of the early scholars in psychology were college-educated people of color. What happened to my peers that drove them away from those stereotypes? They were positive stereotypes and meant something to a whole lot of people. I have 2 questions. I can blame the white patriarchy for my lot in life and thereby claim that he has some privilege that he may not actually have, or I can blame the self-enforced negative stereotypes of what kind of person I'm supposed to be.
Whoa, stop right there. I may piss a lot of people off when I say this. Everyone is where they are supposed to be based on what choices they made. But that doesn't mean that everyone has the same choices. That is the privilege argument. Privilege means access, and access is a coveted item that the 1%ers get to hoard at the expense of everyone else. That isn't everything.
It's the unequal access that affirmative action was supposed to remedy and didn't.
That affirmative action was supposed to make it better for everyone. Don't you realize that if somebody finds out that I'm a man of a trans experience, I could lose my job? But here's the bigger issue. Unless someone knows where I am in my transition, the assumption that I'm white, heterosexual, male, and by virtue, that I'm the reason everything is so bad in your life, I prevent you access to your resources.
Here's the truth. You don't have access either. You've been squeezed out too, but some people don't realize it.
That's right. When I hear all the time that I have some privilege or access that they don't have, and that's the reason why their life sucks, it hurts. What I want to know is that I can work just as hard as you, and if not harder. Live in the same impoverished state, budget any entitlements and benefits that I get to the penny, and live quite literally hand to mouth. What the fuck did I do to make your life suck shit? I have to ask, what cock-knocking privilege do I have that makes it so damn easy for you to blame me?
You're white and male. Need I say more?
That's the rub. The guys who live in West Virginia and that happens to be a heroin addict. He didn't get retrained when he lost his job in the mines due to the work-related injury. He lost his house and cars. He couldn't work. He didn't get retrained, and he's addicted to pills. Now tell me, how's he privileged? He wants to blame someone. He's looking for someone to take his pain away. He has self-medicated heroin. He's looking for someone to blame to make himself a better man. Above all, where is his privilege?
Doesn't sound like he has any, but you'd never know it because he had a job, a car, a home. Despite the fact that he's now an addict, his chances of going to jail versus going to inpatient drug treatment are where the privilege really shines. He'll get treatment first, and probably, maybe, he'll get probation on possession charges.
And his black counterpart will more likely get jail time instead of treatment. Jim Crow still rears its ugly head. Listen, my dear brother, you are less likely to go to jail than I am. And if we both go to jail for the same crime, I will serve a longer sentence with harsher penalties. And that is why we need to completely reform our criminal justice system, because Lady Justice ain't as blind as we think.
Hey, I get that. I've hit the mother load in terms of privilege. I'm a white heterosexual male. I have joined the patriarchy. A slap on the wrist for a criminal act, but let me tell you, every single time I hear how I'm privileged, I have to say to myself, if you only knew. I mean, I get it that we go by what we see. Here's the funny thing, I still listen to my women's music and I'm still considered a TRF.
Wait, what? What do you mean you're a TERF? Really? You? How can that be? You are a man of trans experience. How is it that you can be a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist? That doesn't make any sense.
First, Melanie, just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. It would be like a friend of mine waiting to go to a survivors group for miscarriages. She is of trans experience but has never been pregnant nor had the equipment to carry a child. She would never personally know what it's like to go through that. At best, she'd make a great support person. Hell, McGarrett would want me in one of those support groups. She has said that she needs feminine energy in situations like that, and it's not always the way when you have someone of trans experience in the room.
But why would you exclude someone who might have something to offer?
It's not that she would have nothing to offer. It's just that she wouldn't understand the societal expectations that go with motherhood. I felt like a complete failure that I couldn't do something so simple as carry a pregnancy to term.
I didn't know that.
But here's the caveat. While she might not understand what I'm going through, she is still supported. She is still a support, and I can cry on her shoulder. For that, I am still forever grateful for her. We may not be able to talk about breastfeeding, but we can talk about childhood illnesses, poopy diapers, and bouts of colic. We can connect on some levels, but not all. Now, there is stuff that she has gone through that I can't even imagine. I'm completely useless in those areas, and she knows it.
There's the whole other issue with women of trans experience, competing athletically with cisgendered women. Listen, man, I see that has caused an uproar as well. Depending on when they have transitioned, it can be difficult.
Tell me about it.
Kids between the ages of 8 to 10 aren't all that different hormonally. If you ran a blood test, you couldn't tell them apart. If they go on hormone blockers, their bodies wouldn't masculinize or feminize. However, if they transition post-puberty, that's a whole other thing. Because now, both have either feminized or masculinized, and that is where the advantage or disadvantage comes in.
Sexual dimorphism at its finest.
Look at what happened recently in Texas. There was a young man who was on hormone blockers, and because Texas is as regressive as it is with its politics, students are required to compete under their gender assigned to them at birth. This young man won the state championship and was booed, shamed because he had to compete in the female category. He won because he did have an unfair advantage. His body never had estrogen in it.
He was on hormone blockers, right?
Yes, he only had testosterone in his body. They made him compete in the category that you insisted on, and what did you think was gonna happen? Of course he was gonna win. It wasn't fair to him or these young ladies.
It's not fair to anyone, and it leaves everyone feeling like they got cheated by those at least effects. It's that white patriarchy again.
I can tell you what it's like being launched into the patriarchy and being part of the privileged class. I know the difference. Yes, there is white privilege, male privilege, and heteronormative privilege. I move easily through society, which is why I protect my stealth status like a hawk.
Stealth status? What's that?
People who identify as transgender or of a trans experience and don't want their status known to the general public call it living stealth.
Oh, okay.
I now move in society in stealth. I know that in my case, in dealing with the police, I could probably talk my way out of a ticket or get off with just a warning, but I'm always given the benefit of the doubt. I never have to worry about my interactions with the police, and I'm never seen as a threat. I move freely now, never worrying about being watched or seen. I see the difference when I interact with other men and how I'm now part of the world that viewed that way.
And I'm seen just the opposite. We are the discredited and the discreditable. Lovely bunch, aren't we?
It's interesting to try and educate men. I can say things on them and their wives and their girlfriends would love to say, Simply, they won't hear them or believe them, but they will believe and hear me. Megara and I just move about society. Never worried about being beat up or accosted. People never give us a second thought.
Not true, bro. It all depends on what neighborhood you're in and what time of day or night it is.
That's true. So, I know the difference between before and after. I'm not a man of color, where I must fear for my life and be careful about every word I say with interacting with the police. I've never had to worry about what I wear or having catcalls or unwanted sexual advantages. It's generally doesn't happen to guys, but here's the caveat. I'm discreditable. If they find out what I'm hiding, luckily, I'm not seen as a woman. That gives me some pull. What do I know? What I do know is this. I'm a longtime systems advocate, and I know how easy it is for me to get a seat at the table. With that said, my job, that once I get a seat at the table, I am to kick in the door, and so everyone else can have their own seat as well. It has never been a matter of either or. It has always been a matter of both and.
Fade to black. Scene 3, the blow up. Setting, stage divided by a wall. Michelangelo has his back to the wall on one side, and Megara and Ercole on the other side of the wall facing the other direction. There are 3 chairs, 2 on stage right and 1 on stage left. Megara and Ercole are on stage right and Michelangelo is on stage left. At Rise, Megara on the phone with Michelangelo. They appear to be arguing. Ercole is pacing within the confines of the room on stage right.
That boy's writing checks his ass can't cash.
Hush!
Why can't you come back? I want to know what's so important that you want to stay in New York.
Micah, I fell in love and I'm getting married, whether you like it or not.
Why? I haven't met him. He's going to take care of you like you deserve or be like that sperm donor of mine.
Micah! What is so important that you need me back in Oregon?
Ma, I don't want to go to New York.
I don't get you. You want to be part of my life, but you don't want to take a risk. What are you scared of? I better get some straight answers out of you.
Ask him the question. I bet he doesn't have the colognes to tell the truth.
Ercole, enough! I will handle this. Micah, I would not say this again. I'm getting married. Like it or not. I'm not going back to Oregon. Now, you can answer my question or this conversation is over.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want things to go back the way they were before shit went sideways?
Yes, I want you home. I want my entire family around me. I need you and Nana and my uncles. I need to find my sister, and I have to be here to do it. I want you home.
Kazata! You don't like the idea that someone has replaced you, do you?
I don't know who this guy is, and the shit I've been hearing about him. They're all saying that he's kind of fucked up.
Who's talking? Mamon? Nardo? Which school is spreading lies?
Ercole is still pacing and gesticulating in a grandiose manner.
It doesn't matter.
Ask him if
Mom.
that putana is so good that he's going to bury any chance of getting out of that hole he's dug himself in.
Will you quit interrupting me? I'm dealing with it. If you want to rip him, do it yourself. I don't have time for this shit with you two. Damn it, Hito. To the 9 hells, Michelangelo, will you listen?
I don't care. I want you home. It's not fair that you left me here.
There was nothing that I can do. I lost custody of you and your sister and that broke me. I kept looking for you and your sister everywhere.
So come back and help me find her, please.
The answer is no. And if you didn't answer my question, it was a yes or no answer. Do you want things to go back to the way they were before you ended up with your sperm donor?
Yes, I want you and Joylette back. I don't want anyone else.
I'm sorry, Micah. I won't go back because I've come too far. I've grown up. That's something that you still need to do.
I am an adult. I'm insane.
I don't care. You have no say in my life. You haven't for a very long time.
He's pushing, isn't he? He just remind him that I can cut him off just like I can cut off my mom when she got out of line.
Enough! Micah, I'm done. When can you understand why I cut off everyone and moved to New York? Then we can resume this conversation. Otherwise, I'm going to be sick.
What?
You haven't gotten it yet. I'm
What's
done.
wrong with you?
Goodbye, Micah.
Garrett hangs up the phone and a busy signal is heard. Michelangelo's phone. Michelangelo stares at the phone in disbelief. Lights dim on stage left.
Are you okay?
No. This was hard. I can't even get through. I can't seem to get through to him. He can't have what I don't have to give. There's no more of me to give. I can't do the sleepless nights and daily battles just to get a phone call from him. I don't like the idea that he decided that he's going to marry some girl that he thinks he can save. I've known that girl's mother since I was in middle school, and she's a felon. I was there when that girl was born, and the whole family's messed up.
We're talking about Tana, right?
Who else would I be talking about? I mean, my old boss had to plead conflict of interest when she was assigned as her public defender. She thought that she could get a really sweet deal just because she was my boss. I don't want Micah around by that. I don't want Micah around that by any stretch.
You want me to try and reason with him? You know, I think part of the problem is you keep trying to referee us. You keep getting in the middle. Micah and me, we need to have our own relationship. He needs to have his own relationship with me, not you. Just me and him.
Really?
Fine.
Let me reason with him. Let me see what I can do. Although after this, I don't know how he'll feel about me.
Fine. Whatever.
Let me call him now. Maybe he will talk with a man and not necessarily his mom. He is not amused that this man has come and taken his place. Well, at least that is what that is what he believes has happened. He thinks he's the boss, and we, well, now especially have to have this delusion. We have to delusion him of this notion. This is about him and me at this point, Megara. He wants to be the alpha male, he can't be. He doesn't have the skills yet, so he's scared because of who you dated in your past, and he has no idea who the hell I am. He doesn't trust me because he's never met me. When you see it all laid out, it makes perfect sense. That's the way he's acting. And get out of your own way and let us thrash this out once and for all. This is going to be painful for all of us.
Picks up the telephone and calls Michelangelo.
Hi, Micah. I heard you asked your mom to move back to Oregon.
Yeah. She needs to come home.
You realize that Oregon is no longer her home, that it has too many memories that will cripple her.
No. What do you mean?
Your mom has been beat up by the system that has allowed you to end up in your father's care. They didn't care that he was an addict, nor that he was abusive to you. Your father hates your mom and took it out on you.
But I can take care of her. I won't let that happen.
That's right. You won't, because you're gonna get out of my way and let me do it. And so you know, you don't have to call me dad.
She's my mom.
But she's my fiance. You are a son, whether you like it or not. That's how it has to be.
Fuck you. You never wanted me in her life anyways.
I didn't say that. I want you in our lives, but you need to first understand that you need to take care of her. That is the responsibility. It is hers first, and then mine. You are her child, her kid. You aren't her husband or her lover. I am. If it isn't her who is taking care of herself, it is me. That should have never been your responsibility. You start going to places that you can't go to afford.
Fuck you. I don't know you. You stole my mom away from me, you asshole.
Fade to black. Scene 4. Megara's voice. Setting. Columbia University Theater Department office with the chair of Roberto Barone. Hercule is a theater major there. Teresa is sitting at her desk with a wooden crate full of fruit and vegetables sitting next to her. There's a bench off to one side of the desk and a couple of chairs. McGarrett's arrived to pick up the CSA vegetables. At Rise, McGarrett and Teresa are in her office.
Hi, Teresa. How goes it?
Hey Meg, how you doing? Why are you here? Isn't Hercules supposed to pick up the goodies today?
Nah, I took today off for a couple of appointments.
What's going on? Your MS isn't acting up, is it?
No, it was just my annual with the neurologist. Apparently my brain isn't Swiss cheese this week. Either way, it's good news.
So, how was your dinner? How was dinner last night? Where'd you go? I heard you were gonna go someplace nice.
We went to the captain's quarters. It was great. It was that seafood and steak place on City Island. What's not to love?
Did you bring your bags for your hat or your picnic?
Teresa pulls out a wooden crate full of fruit and veggies and starts to place them on her desk.
They had eggplants and cucumbers this week. They had mushrooms, both white button and shiitake. They had blueberries and strawberries. They had Thai oregano and Italian oregano.
McGarrett's pulling out a few fabric shopping bags out of her backpack and does a quick little jig and makes a high-pitched squeak.
Sure did. I can't wait to have caponata and bruschetta tomorrow night.
So, how was dinner the other night? You made it sound like it was amazing. Nice view of the city, romantic. I mean, given everything that has been going on with Micah, the time away together for even a few short hours must be nice.
Depends on your view of the night.
Why? What happened? He said it was a great night. A date night where you finally alone together. What happened?
Teresa, we went out and he did his usual. He held the door, pulled my chair, told the Maître D about our reservation. We sat. Okay, I'm not French. We sat. We got comfortable. Maître D sent the waiter over, and that's when all hell broke loose.
Teresa stops and stares at McGarrett in shock.
The waiter comes over and nods to me and asks him for his order.
McGarrett shakes her head in disbelief.
Hercule orders the waiter's thing, and the waiter will have Teresa. He never even looked at me or asked me what I wanted, as if I didn't exist.
Could have been an oversight. I'm sure he didn't intentionally ignore you. You were an intelligent woman. I mean, you can order for yourself. It has to be a mistake, for God's sakes.
Teresa, I have lived this way before. I've always been something to someone else, never to myself. You know that I've been married before. Besides it being a dismal failure, I guess I attempted to maintain some sort of individual identity by hyphenating my last name. And it didn't piss off Francesco. And that wasn't the half of it. My own father was a semi-celebrity and I hated going out to dinner with him. Nosy Parkers wanted his autograph. My own mother was a lobbyist and no one took me seriously unless I mentioned her name. It was always, oh, you're Linda's daughter. The biggest insult was that I was the oldest and my accomplishments were glossed over for my brothers. I could have won the Nobel Peace Prize and their pitiful attempts would be valued more. Like either of them even finished high school and my 2 degrees don't mean squat.
Drop me into an office chair.
I've always been something to someone. You know, before all this medical stuff started with him, he and I had equal voices. At least I wasn't dismissed. I mean, I can handle people looking at us funny. But being ignored? Dismissed!
Have you spoken to E? Does he know how you feel? How upset you are?
No, I'm starting to get concerned that I'm going to lose my voice again. Just be something to someone. I let that happen once and it was horrible. It traumatized me. Frank tried to abuse me. So did Randall. Help me out.
Vincenzo.
Vincenzo was just an idiot, and I don't think he knew his elbow from his asshole well enough to realize that what he was doing could be seen as abusive. I'm scared. I'm afraid it will happen again. Look, Hercule doesn't get it. He's a man now. He's flying high. I don't know what's going to become of him, of me, of us. I remember in the beginning he had this friend who was just awful. He was a Neanderthal. He was a caricature of all the worst qualities that you could find in man. And that's being nice.
Really? How could that be?
The guy was a jerk, and I had to make it clear to Hercule that I could not deal with this guy anymore. Take that misogynist, sexist attitude and cram it sideways. I am not a non-entity. Yes.
Non-entity.
Non-entity. Sorry, Billy.
Good. But I think that you and E need to see a couples therapist.
We have, and it was a dismantle failure. They were more interested in his transition than us building a solid relationship. But that didn't stop us from seeing individual therapists. It's amazing it's amazing what his would tell him that would practically parrot what my had said to me. So basically, we did, but on an individual basis. I know how important his transition is for him. He has every stage planned out, and I know what can happen. The things that could go wrong, the medical stuff and the relationship stuff. It's a morass of, no, hell, it's a fucking nightmare.
I know he has to have surgery, but I don't know all the ins and outs of it. What's so hard?
The surgery is done in at least 3 stages, but it's the stuff that has to be done before he can even consider getting on the table. Everything from potential donor sites to weight loss to whether or not his heart can handle the surgery. We do realize that he loves my cooking just a little too much.
Well, you really are a good cook.
I know.
Seriously though. If that's everything, how tough can it be?
Once the donor site is chosen, he has to get electrolysis, and that can get expensive. And then it's getting the clearances for surgery. But I'm not worried so much about the surgery or any other of the other stuff. What worries me is the relationship stuff. Am I going to lose him? And if I don't, am I going to lose my voice again? The restaurant rattled me like nobody's business.
I know you. You're a country girl. You're tough as nails. I also can see you without an opinion and a voice. I know that you are not quiet. You told me yourself when you lost custody of kids, you were a rowdy bully.
Oh, you bet I did. I got in everyone's face, but the system would never wear you down, and that was why I lost my voice for the longest time. I just didn't have the energy to fight anymore, and that's what killed me. Getting my voice back took a lot of time and energy. What I'm afraid of most is even if me, do all the work to make this relationship work, we are going to fail. I know the statistics, and it isn't unusual for a relationship to fail apart after the surgery is done. And I guess that's what I'm most afraid of.
Is there anything that can be done?
Not really. I know that he wants to ask me, but I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of commitment yet. I hate to say I do, and then find out that it's not going to work for whatever reason. Don't get me wrong, I love him and I know that he loves me. I wouldn't have to come this far with him if I didn't think it would work, but I'm still scared.
It's okay to be scared, but I know that you are strong enough to move through this. I don't know enough people with your kind of strength that could survive what you have and still hold your head high.
Look, he's just like my father in some ways, and that's what makes me crazy with him. He's loving and attentive, or a three-piece asshole, and there is no in between. He started singing Perry Como the other night. I sat there in horror as I was transported back to Seattle with my father. My father listens to him.
You got that one. Your father, a city boy, like I suspect.
Yeah, and he went to an old boys school too. I suspect that they're where the assholes come from. He, on the other hand, grew up in Grays and with some pretty unsavory characters. Masons on one hand and the mafia on the other. Makes for an interesting dinner conversation.
Megara stands up and grabs her bags of veggies.
And on that note, I have to run if I'm going to get dinner on the table sometime before midnight. Thanks for listening. I need someone to talk to that knows the both of us.
I'm always here. Maybe we need a girls' night out. Start your pool.
How about axes? I know of this bar in Brooklyn.
Axes? That sounds like fun.
Booze and axes. What could go wrong? Though I think we would need a designated driver. Or Stitches, take your pick. Call me tomorrow. I'm sure that we can figure something out.
Will do.
Fade to black. Scene 5. The first proposal. Setting. Location is Harlem, New York in 2009. The other side of the door is a sofa, a desk, a computer on it, and a rolling chair. At Rise, Megara is sitting at a desk near her bed. Hercule is in the living room watching TV.
Baby!
Yes!
You busy?
Schoolwork. I hate that damn professor.
I know. What is she doing this time?
The BS about the effectiveness of Haldol in the treatment of schizophrenia versus second generation neuroleptics. Yeah, that the Haldol causes Parkinsonian like symptoms and tardive dyskinesia. I'm butchering. But the second generation neuroleptics cause metabolic disorders such as diabetes and high cholesterol. She doesn't accept my evidence that none of it works.
Loren Mosher's work at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in DC. How about Hearing Voices Network? Does she accept that people will come back anywhere from 1 to 40 days when they are experiencing an altered state of consciousness? I mean, the data is right there. When they're experiencing an altered state of consciousness, I mean, the data is sorry. Remember?
You wanna go back?
Remember, he outlines.
Someone got you.
It's fine. Remember, he outlines the guy who they took the park because the aliens were coming to him to pick him up, to take him home. The staff took him there every night for 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, he told the staff they're not coming to get me. Loren believed and demonstrated through the Soteria model that it was better for folks that they have a layman around them. Non-clinical staff. There's evidence of more targeted uses of neuroleptics that can help. However, it must be extremely short term. And the Hearing Voices Network allows people to learn coping skills and talk back to their voices. And it is when they are lost in an altered state that they will discover a skill set for dealing with those voices or whatever.
She wants me to say that Haldol is effective in treatment of schizophrenia. I won't! This is battle of political beliefs. She won't accept Robert Whittaker's work from his book Mad in America, the treatment of the mentally ill, and not his book. Anatomy of an epidemic. Nope, she wouldn't accept it. Told me to redo my paper or she was going to film me.
Don't you think you're overreacting?
You know this is all over my work around parents with disabilities. The 39 of 50 states, you can terminate a parent's rights based on diagnosis alone. She refuses to look at the social context for parents. God is forbid. She thinks that it couldn't be anything other than a broken brain disease. At least in New York State, it is straight social service law 38-4 BD. In Oregon, oh my God, in Oregon, there are all kinds of convoluted nonsense, and that's how I lost Michelangelo and Joliet. Oh my God, and I had to relinquish, and now I have no idea where they are. Well, I do with Micah. I know Micah. I know someday you'll be home where you belong. Damn. MS. I hate this fucking disease. It could cost me my life, everything.
Look, we both know that doing the right thing isn't always the easiest. Doing what is politically correct is always easy as is the follow the masses. Sometimes you have to take a stand, no matter what the cost, because it is the right thing. If she fails you, I'm still proud of you. You took a stand when no one else would. I love you. Remember that. Always, no matter what happens.
Botana.
I wonder how much Big Pharma is paying her. After all, this is biology of the brain. Ergo, you will be Dr. Megara Saltamachia, and you will write your own ticket. Publish or die. Ah, the life of an academic. I'm so proud of you for making sure the kind of injustice never happens to any other person again. You are your own woman now, with an independent voice that is different from mine. You finally have your own identity. The drawback is that you collect political prisoners like pets. You cuddle them and feed them, give them medical attention and housing. You're nice about kicking people in their ass. For me, it is too much trouble that affects the bottom line. I just say go to hell. Is that what you're doing to this professor? Because your Wiccan beliefs are showing. Do you have a special cauldron just for certain professors you despise?
Hercule is standing behind Megara and starts to chuckle. He's attempting to look down the front of her shirt from behind her as he kisses her shoulders and neck.
Where's your pentacle? I can't quite see it. Even if you give her a book with the proper citations, is it still enough? I guess some professors don't believe in anything other than their biomedical model of psychiatry.
Hercule hugs Megara around the shoulders in a soft voice.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. Remember, my dad was in public relations. I know how to say to go to hell in such a way you pay twice the price for the tickets. I walk you to the platform. You take your trip and you come back and write me a thank you note asking me when you could book your next trip. Can't be worse than that putana. I wonder if I should sprinkle some salt across her path and then blow some tobacco smoke at her to ward off her evil vibes. Of course, I could just bind her to her own personal hell with all the love and light I have for her, which ain't much, but it's worth a shot.
You know you're funny, right?
I know.
Can't you just hex her with spiders or frogs or cockroaches? But still, I haven't asked my question yet.
Gets down on his knees in front of Megara and takes both her hands in his.
You know I love you, right?
Yes.
You know that I'd do anything for you, right?
Yeah, what are you getting at?
I I can't imagine what my life would be like without you in it. I want to share my life with you.
Digging into his pocket, he pulls out a ring.
Will you do the honor of marrying me? Would you do me the honor of being Miss Urkele Kuoko? You are my soulmate. I want to spend my life just loving you and worshiping the ground that you walk on.
Are you kidding?
No?
What is this? You think that marriage is about